Hey guys, today we're going to go over the basics of pipelines and nodes, and then using that knowledge we are going to create an occupancy counter. First, let's make sure we're in the design tab, make sure we're in the pipelines tab, and then head over to create pipeline. And then we're going to create a new pipeline from scratch. And as you can see on the right hand side, Lumeo has a bunch of different nodes that we can choose from, as well as the different types of nodes that we will go over in this video. First, let's go over how pipelines work. Pipelines make use of nodes that receive video, process them, and output streams or metadata based on the video processing. First, let's start with a video stream. This can be an RTSP link, a camera, or a file. If you want to transform anything about the video from the dimensions to flipping it, you just press the gear icon right here, and then you can modify anything but the input video, just so you can see output resolution as well as the camera angle and then direction. You can also crop it if you'd like. And then additionally, if you want to insert any instructions or include any information for anyone using your pipeline, you can place it in the deploy instructions. Next, let's look at recognition. Recognition includes anything that you are looking for in the video. This can be any classifiers, detectors, recognition-specific nodes, and many, many more. The free version of Lumeo has a limited number of recognition models, such as facial recognition and, I believe, motion detection. And whereas the business model has many unique nodes, coming from license plate tracking to identifying objects and looking them up using Google Gemini and ChatGPT. You can see also that when you pull out a node for the recognition nodes, you can see that there are two sides to it, the triangle and the circle. When you hover over each of these, you're able to see what are the inputs and the outputs it is expecting. For this one, it is looking for either a raw or a multiplex video. So raw usually just means a video that is already broken up into frames that it can manipulate. And then it is going to output a raw or a multiplex video. And it's also going to output any of the inference outputs, such as the metadata. So when you're connecting to nodes, you're just going to want to click on the circle or the triangle and then move it over to the other section. And then you've created a connection between them. Now onto rules nodes, which take metadata realized in the recognition node. This can manipulate metadata and perform counts as well as create triggers, which we can discuss in a later video. Triggers are down here. They have a various number of applications that we will cover later. Now integration, which are nodes that select metadata along with various other insights from recognition and rules nodes and sends it to a location. These locations can vary from Google Sheets to emails, to SMS messages, Google Chat, various other different locations, pretty much anything you would need for any sort of project. It can take any of the metadata or the files and send the metrics there. The last node that makes use of the metadata is the transformation node. This node takes the metadata and it transforms the video content. This includes anything that involves bounding boxes, along with displaying stream information, any metadata, and various other applications such as blurring and watermarks. The very last set of nodes is the media nodes, which choose the output type for any video, trigger condition, or frame. These outputs could include video encoding for any MP4.mov or various other different video types, clips, as well as GIFs, and if you want to stream to YouTube, any of the media that you have, as well as snapshots and much more. Pretty much everything you've done up until this point leads up into the media node, where you send it back and you are able to observe the results. Now that you've learned how to use nodes, let's create a presence monitor from scratch that deploys metadata to a Google Sheet. First, you're going to want to change the name. You can just press on the name in the top right and change it to, let's go with presence monitor project. And then let's start with the nodes we know. First, we'll start with the input node. We're going to use the video source. We've already selected out the video source we're going to use. And then let's examine some parts of the node. First, deploy instructions. This is just additional documentation that you can show for somebody who's using your pipeline to just give them an idea of what you're working with. We'll just say video from Seaside storefront. And then the frame rate should just be automatically what the resolution is. We're not going to transform anything about the video because it's upright and should be what we're looking for. And then we press save. And next, let's move on to getting our recognition model. For this one, we're going to use a general AI model, head in and find the people detection. There's a few different kinds, but we're just going to go with the regular people detection model. And we don't want to change this in between different deployments, so I'm not going to toggle it to override at deploy time. And we'll say people detection model for storefront, just to make it easy. We don't need to change anything about the inference threshold or anything like that. Should just be just fine. And then we're going to want to connect these two nodes together and keep moving on. And then from there, since we're going to have multiple objects that are going to be moving within the frame, we're going to want to put a trap objects node. Should be fine, as accuracy is high, profile is the same. Don't need to change anything here. Now let's head into rules. And now we know for the rules, there's a few different monitor types: occupancy and presence. Occupancy just tells whether or not someone is been in there or the duration they've been in there, versus presence determines when extracts information about them in the field of interest. So we're going to go with that presence monitor. And there's a few different pieces of information that we're going to have to set in the presence monitor. So we'll say create region of interest in front of store and requirements for metadata. So first, let's start with the region of interest. We do have it toggled automatically to be able to be overrid at runtime. So let's select the video we intend to be using, which is Seaside Heights. If we go over here, we can click in the bottom left to create a vector square of the region of interest. Let's just make it in front, whatever is in front of this yellow storefront right here. And then it will save this for deployment. And next, let's move on down to objects to track. We know we want to be tracking people. We're not tracking the occupancy of cars. Let's just go with person. It's able to tell the difference. And then the first presence time tracker right here is going to go over the minimum time required for it to be recognized as an object, as you can see right here. So let's go with 2 seconds. And then for the max presence time, the time threshold it takes for them to put a orange bounding box around the person inside. So let's go with 1. Other than that, should be good. We're going to have the region of interest displayed, not on the runtime. We won't need to change that between takes. Display objects, and then we're going to be tracking people based on the center of their body rather than their head or their arms. Next, let's move on to integration. Make sure that each of your nodes are connected before you run any of the pipeline, as it will not work. Let's go into integration. You can use anything, any of these nodes for integration, but for this, we're going to be using the Google Sheets node. And as it has some specific documentation, we're going to want to make sure that we insert all of the information we need and share our Google Sheet with the drive. You can see the documentation for each node when you press the node documentation, and then it'll just take you through the steps you need to set up your Google Sheets API account. So after you I'll handle this in a separate video to show you guys how to use it. And then lastly, we're going to encode the video using the media encryption. So it's going to encode the video. The bitrate should be fine. And then we're going to create a stream RTSP so that we can see the results of our pipeline. Now that you finish the pipeline and set up your Google Sheets file according to the instructions in the node, let's deploy the pipeline. First, you're going to want to head over to the top right and press Deploy Pipeline. And then from there, you're going to want to select the video source. And just to clarify that if you toggled anything to edit it during the deploy time, this would be the place to look for it. Now we've got the region of interest that we labeled earlier, just going to be in front of this store. And make sure that you have a gateway active. For this video, I'm going to be using the Trial Cloud Gateway. Now we're going to select it, deploy, and wait a little bit before it starts running. Now after a few minutes, you can check the logs on the deployment tabs, and you can see the metadata that's being extracted. If you click on the eye icon, you can see the full JSON that's being pulled from each of the videos. After you wait a few minutes, it'll start appending data to the Google Sheets. You can also see the output stream with the bounding boxes around the centroids of the people entering and exiting the region of interest. As you can see here, as they exit, the AI takes note, and the polygon is the ROI, that region of interest. Now, as you can see, it's updating in real time as there's the frame timestamp, along with objects, being people in this case, entering the region of interest, as well as objects exiting the region of interest, among a few other different data types and nodes. And as you can see, it's just updating in real time. And yeah, now you've learned about the properties of different nodes and how to create a presence monitor which populates its data to Google Sheets. Thanks for watching. Click on the videos on the screen if you want to learn more about video analytics and how to use the Lumeo platform.